The week before Apple made their big announcement about moving to Raleigh, I released a video about why tech companies are moving to Raleigh and how that's going to influence the future of Raleigh. Then, bam, Apple makes their big announcement that they're going to be opening their new campus in Raleigh, North Carolina, spending over $1 billion to build that campus.
Whoa.
I think this is a great illustration of exactly what I was saying in that video. So Raleigh has the resources and the talent to attract new businesses to the area, which is what is happening. Raleigh is continuing to fulfill the predictions to be a growing tech hub, and while it's no threat to dethrone the larger tech hubs, there's no reason to believe that its growth has peaked, and every reason to believe that it will continue its rise in the tech industry. This is an important... Today we're going to talk about Apple's move into the Triangle. To do this, I'm going to give you an overview of the growth of Apple's second headquarters located in Austin, Texas, as well as the history of the tech field in Austin, because there are some very similar patterns in the growth of both Austin and Raleigh. I think because Austin is so similar to Raleigh in many ways, we can learn a lot when we look at what happened there to the tech and the entrepreneur scene and the housing market. So we're going to look at that stuff, and we're going to extrapolate some possible effects of what Apple's move into the Raleigh market might mean for our future here in Raleigh. I have heard speculations all over the place, and honestly, the impacts of this could affect all of our lives significantly, and understanding how things are likely to evolve can help us to make decisions about how we respond to the news of Apple's move. Are we going to become the next Bay Area with its traffic headaches and outrageous housing prices? If you're thinking of moving to Raleigh, does this mean that you should move sooner or you shouldn't move here at all? If you already live here, should you stay, move somewhere else? I think the insights I'll uncover in today's video are really going to help you make at least some kind of reasonable hypothesis about what might happen here, and consequently help you decide how you should respond to the situation. And of course, my standard caveat, that old crystal ball is still in the shop. I don't know what's going to happen, but these are my best guesses. And one more caveat, when I do these deep dive videos, I tend to speak very quickly because I'm covering so much information in a short period of time. I'll try and slow it down a little bit, but for those of you who aren't aware, you can speed up or slow down the video right in the bottom right corner on your desktop, or the top right corner if you're on mobile. I'm going to talk about 3 possible effects of Apple's choice of Raleigh. First, what it means for the Raleigh economy in the future. Secondly, what it will do to the housing market in both the near and far term. And thirdly, how Apple's presence might affect the culture of the Triangle region. Apple was founded in Cupertino, California in 1976. Since then, Apple has expanded, like I said, developing a second headquarters in Austin, Texas in 2015, and then expanding that campus again in 2018. A few weeks ago, Apple made its announcement that it would open their third headquarters campus in Raleigh, North Carolina. This will be their third largest campus in the United States. When Apple initially built their campus in Austin, it started with 3,000 employees. Within 5 years, they more than doubled that number of employees to 7,000. The new Austin campus, which began construction in 2018, is starting with 5,000 employees and is expected to grow to 15,000 employees. That campus will open in 2022. Raleigh and Austin do have a lot of similarities. They both rank closely in the best places list. They're both state capitals with very diverse economies, supported by many different industries, including a thriving tech scene. Both Raleigh and Austin have thriving music scenes. They both are anchored by a major research university, which is common in tech hubs. Raleigh has 3 major universities within a 40-minute radius. Both Raleigh and Austin are known for their relatively lower cost of living. Both cities are creeping up in price, but compared to the other tech-heavy locations like California, Washington State, Northern Virginia, and Massachusetts, Raleigh and Austin look affordable by comparison, with both having median home values in the 6 figures rather than the 7 figures. I'll talk more about that later in the video. Both cities are also known for their high quality of life and family friendliness. There's a similar history to how both Raleigh and Austin came to be technology hubs. Back in the 1950s, a group of Austin private leaders established the Austin Area Economic Foundation as a way to try to attract technology companies to the area. It worked, and big names like Tracor, IBM, Texas Instruments, and Motorola all moved to Austin. And a few years later, in 1977, the University of Austin built upon that foundation by forming the IC2 Institute, a regional think tank devoted to economic development through technology. This set the stage for continued growth in technology in Austin until Apple came on the scene in 2015. In 2016, Austin made CNBC Metro 20's America's Best Places to Start a Business list. That trajectory looks very similar to Raleigh's growth over the last 60 years, although Raleigh has been a little bit slower to grow than Austin. In the 1950s, North Carolina's core industries of agriculture, textiles, and furniture manufacturing were suffering, and the jobs these industries once provided were now dwindling across the state. Many of the state's state's political, business, and academic leaders began searching for a way to bolster and transition North Carolina's economy. They were struck by the successful development of new industries connected with the universities in Boston and thought they might be able to replicate that phenomenon in North Carolina. They invented the name Research Triangle and envisioned a research and development park that could take advantage of the resources of Duke University, UNC Chapel Hill, and North Carolina State University. It worked, and in 1965, IBM moved into the park. By the early 2000s, GlaxoSmithKline, Nortel, and Cisco had joined IBM as the park's largest employers. The first question we need to ask about Apple's future in Raleigh is, will it continue to grow in Raleigh in the same way it did in Austin? We're going to look at a statement made by Apple CEO Tim Cook in 2017 to get an idea of what may happen in the future in Raleigh. But first, let's look at the reason Apple chose Raleigh in the first place. One of Apple's stated desires in their choice of location was they were looking for places where quality talent is available and they can partner strategically with education institutions, not just the 3 Tier 1 schools, but the historically Black colleges and universities and the community colleges. Compared to other markets, we probably look really good in terms of how many engineers and other trained professionals North Carolina can produce. Many people are familiar with the Triangle's major research universities, but we also have 2 historically Black colleges in downtown Raleigh and a really well-organized community college system in North Carolina with engineering and other tech degrees designed to transfer into our state colleges. Even for disadvantaged students, there's a path to STEM degrees in the Triangle. Now, back to that 2017 quote. Tim Cook, speaking about Apple's decision to expand in the Austin market, said, "Apple continues to grow here because the University of Texas and other colleges and universities in the area are great at preparing people for the workforce. So you have an incredible education system here that's obviously key. The second thing is people want to live here," he added. "It's a quality of life that people enjoy. I'm sure there are some problems and so forth that as local members of the community you see, but on a macro basis, Austin is a very beloved city that people want to live in, and that's key. You want people to be happy." I think it's interesting that Cook's statement about moving into the Austin market so markedly mirrors the 1973 statement from the VP of Motorola, showing that these criteria for tech companies stand the test of time. The technological intricacies of fabricating the equivalent of thousands of transistors and electronic components on an eyelash-thin piece of silicon requires employees who are a distinct cut above the average. In Austin, we found them, backed by also extremely attractive living conditions. Austin was an ideal selection for this newest and most advanced Motorola plant. I think it's fair to make the connection that the Triangle, with its quality of life and educational institutions, will see the following 2 things happen. First, Apple has said they anticipate significant future growth of the company. I believe they will not only establish their campus, but they'll likely expand their campus here in Raleigh at some point. And 2, tech companies like to be around other tech talent. It creates a space for collaboration and growth for everyone. I think it's likely that Apple will be the impetus for even more tech companies to follow in their footsteps and establish locations in the Triangle. How will Apple's move to Raleigh change the housing market? There are 2 changes that I think we can expect. A realtor in Austin did an analysis on the housing market after Apple's initial move in the Austin market in 2015. She found that the only homes that had any significant appreciation immediately following the construction of the new campus were houses that were walking distance to the Apple campus. However, over time, the housing market in Austin has had much greater appreciation than Raleigh. In 2015, the median home price in Raleigh was $225,000. We have had great appreciation since then. The current median home price is $335,000, which is a rate of 49% from 2015 until the present, but it's been a totally different story in Austin. The median home price in Austin in 2015 was pretty similar to Raleigh at $238,000, but right now their median home value is $526,000. That's a 121% increase since 2015 and more than double the appreciation of Raleigh. Unfortunately, I was not able to find the median price for Austin for $2,000, so I could compare the increases in both cities before Apple, but I still think that it wouldn't be surprising to see longer-term growth similar to Austin after Apple's move here. I don't think we're going to see an initial overall bump of property values throughout the region in the immediate future solely based on Apple's move here. Your house is not going to be worth an extra $100,000 or $200,000 in a year just because Apple moved here. I think other companies are going to have to follow suit in order for this kind of appreciation to materialize, and that's going to take time. However, property values will likely continue to rise just based on the current market. And the last thing I'm kind of excited about that I see Apple investing in the Triangle community community, both ecologically and educationally. When Apple moved to Austin, they increased the number of native trees that were planted on their 133-acre campus. This is what they said. As part of its commitment to respecting the historical and geographical significance of the area, Apple is partnering with Austin-based Bartlett tree experts to preserve and increase the diversity of native trees on the 133-acre property. Thousands of trees spanning over 20 varieties native to Texas are planned for the campus, significantly more than were on the site before construction started. Additionally, the site will be designed to maximize green space, with landscaping covering over 60% of the campus, including a 50-acre nature and wildlife preserve that will be open to the public. Like all Apple facilities, the new Austin campus will run on 100% renewable energy, including from solar power generated on site. I think this is really exciting. I love that Apple is providing an example for how we can have a lighter ecological impact on our beautiful city as we grow. One more cool thing Apple did: Apple not only showed their commitment to students with different educational paths by hiring from the community college grads, they also invested in the education of those students by sponsoring an app development course at the local community college in Austin. I feel certain that these actions are examples of the core beliefs of Apple and that we'll see similar impacts on the Raleigh community once Apple is established here. If you enjoyed this video, you might also like this one about the housing market in Raleigh.